There's a statistic in medicine that doctors really don't like to talk about. It's the case fatality rate. If you contract Ebola, which is terrifying, you actually have about a 50% chance of surviving if you get to a hospital. If you get the bubonic plague today, antibiotics will save you 90% of the time. However, there is one virus that stands alone. It is the deadliest infectious disease known to our species. Once you show the first clinical symptom, even if it's just a headache, the fatality rate isn't 99%. It is effectively 100%. You are already dead. Your body just hasn't figured it out yet. We're talking, of course, about rabies. Now, you might be thinking, wait, didn't someone survive this? And you're right. You're probably thinking of the Milwaukee Protocol. In 2004, a teenage girl named Gina Geese survived without a vaccine. It was a massive medical breakthrough. But here's the part the news headlines usually leave out. Since Gina, doctors have tried that same protocol over 30 times, and it has failed almost every single time. So, if modern medicine can't stop it, and your own immune system can't see it, what is actually happening inside you during those final days? And why does a virus that kills you want you to become aggressive first? Welcome to the Primal Files. Today we are opening the medical archives to understand the biological machine that inspired zombies, vampires, and werewolves. The nightmare usually starts with a mistake, a small one. Maybe you're on vacation in Bali and a stray dog nips your hand, or maybe you wake up in your attic and find a bat on the floor. You check your skin, you see a tiny scratch, you wash it off, and you forget about it. For the next few weeks or even months, you feel completely fine. You go to work, you hang out with friends, you feel normal. But you aren't normal. See, most viruses like the flu or COVID enter your bloodstream. That is a problem for the virus because your blood is patrolled by white blood cells. Your immune system sees the intruder and attacks. Rabies does something smarter. It knows that if it goes into the blood, it dies, so it finds a back door. It digs into your muscle tissue and finds a nerve ending. Think of your nerves like a dedicated fiber optic cable that runs directly into your brain. Once the virus enters that nerve cell, it is invisible. It is literally hiding inside the walls of your own body. Your immune system can't see it, so it doesn't find it. Now the virus begins to climb. It moves via retrograde axonal transport. It crawls up your spine at a rate of about 1 to 2 centimeters per day. This is the incubation period, and this is what makes rabies so insidious. If you get bitten on the foot, the virus has a long way to climb, so you might be fine for a year. If you get bitten on the face, the virus is right next to the brain, and you might only have days. Now there's actually one other disease that hides in the brain and stays dormant for years called prions. It's the mechanic behind mad cow disease, and it is arguably even scarier than rabies because it's not even a virus, it's a protein. We're currently digging into the files for a deep dive on prions and the zombie deer epidemic for a future video. So make sure you join the archive by subscribing right now. You do not want to miss that one, because while prions just delete your brain, rabies hijacks it. So the virus finally reaches the brainstem. This is the moment the clock stops. The first symptom is usually non-specific. You get a fever, you feel tired, but then you feel a tingling sensation at the site of the bite. Even if the wound healed months ago, it starts to itch or burn. That is the virus hitting the central nervous system. At this point, the virus has a problem. It has successfully invaded the host, but if it just kills you instantly, the virus dies with you. To survive, the virus needs to get into a new host, and the most efficient way to do that is to put its DNA into another animal. So it needs two things to happen. One, it needs your mouth to be full of infectious saliva, and two, it needs you to bite someone. To achieve this, it starts shutting down specific parts of your brain. It targets the amygdala and the hypothalamus. These are the ancient parts of your brain that control aggression, fear, and fight or flight. Suddenly, the victim becomes confused. The lights in the hospital room seem blindingly bright. The sound of the air conditioner hurts their ears. They become hyper-agitated. Doctors call this furious rabies. You start hallucinating. You think the nurses are trying to hurt you. You think your family is a threat. You lash out. You bite. It's not because you're evil. It's because the virus is literally driving your body like a stolen car. It is pressing the gas pedal on your aggression because aggression leads to biting and biting leads to transmission. But there's still one major obstacle stopping the virus from spreading. Humans swallow. We swallow liters of saliva every day without thinking about it. If you swallow the saliva, the virus goes into your stomach acid and dissolves. So, the virus has to figure out a way to stop you from swallowing. And the solution it came up with is the stuff of nightmares. We call it hydrophobia, fear of water. But that name is actually misleading. It makes it sound like a psychological phobia, like being afraid of heights. That's not what's happening. Imagine you haven't had a drink in 2 days. You're in a hospital bed, sweating, burning up with a fever. You are thirstier than you have ever been in your life. A nurse brings you a cup of water. Your brain screams, "Drink it!" However, as you lift the cup to your lips, your body revolts. The virus triggers a violent, painful spasm in your pharynx and larynx. Your throat literally slams shut. You gag, you choke, you convulse. It is physically impossible to swallow. We have archival footage from the 1950s of patients trying to drink. It is heartbreaking to watch. You can see the terror in their eyes. They want the water, but their body jumps back from it as if it were boiling acid. This conditions the patient to be terrified of the sight of water. Why does the virus do this? It's simple mechanics. By locking your throat, the virus ensures that the mouth stays full of highly infectious foam. It turns the mouth into a loaded weapon. This is why the foaming at the mouth trope exists in movies. It's not fiction, it's a biological mechanism. Now, take a step back. Imagine you're a peasant in the year 1400. You don't know what a virus is. You don't have microscopes. All you see is your neighbor, John. John disappears for a few days, then he comes back, but he's pale. He can't go out in the sunlight because the light hurts his eyes. He's terrified of water. He's aggressive. He tries to bite people. You wouldn't call a doctor. You would say John has turned into a monster. Historians are now almost certain that rabies is the origin story for the vampire and the werewolf. Think about the symptoms of a vampire. They bite people. They avoid strong smells like garlic because rabies causes hypersensitivity to smell. They avoid mirrors because rabies patients often hallucinate when they see their own reflection. It explains why in old folklore, the only cure for a bite was fire. In the 19th century, if you were bitten by a mad dog, the standard medical treatment was cauterization. They would take a blacksmith's iron poker, heat it until it was glowing red, and jam it into the wound. The theory was that you could boil the poison out. It rarely worked, but the alternative was so terrifying that people would literally beg to be burned alive rather than face the madness that was coming. For all of human history, the survival rate was 0. Then came Gina Geese in 2004. She was 15. She got bitten by a bat in church of all places. She didn't tell her parents until it was too late. By the time she got to the hospital, she had tremors and was slurring her speech. Her doctor, Rodney Willoughby, tried a Hail Mary play. His theory was that the virus doesn't actually eat the brain, it just causes it to misfire. If we can silence the brain, maybe the immune system can catch up. They put her in a chemically induced coma. They flooded her system with ketamine and antivirals. They shut her brain off. She was in a coma for 7 days. When they woke her up, she was weak. She couldn't walk, but the virus was gone. It was a miracle. It made news around the world. We thought we had cured rabies. But reality is often disappointing. Since Gina, doctors have tried the Milwaukee Protocol on at least 35 other patients, and it failed almost every single time. It turns out, Gina might have just been lucky. She might have been infected with a weaker strain of the virus, or her genetics were unique. Today, most hospitals have abandoned the protocol. It's too expensive and it doesn't work. We're back to square one. Today, if you get the vaccine immediately after a bite, you're safe. The shots are painful, but they work. But the horror of rabies is in the timing. It relies on your apathy. It relies on you thinking, it's just a scratch, I'm fine. By the time you realize you aren't fine, the window has closed. It serves as a dark reminder that we are just biological machines, and our machinery can be hijacked. If you found this investigation interesting, you need to watch our breakdown of the Silent City next. We explore what happens when an entire city is poisoned by an invisible killer in just 36 hours, and how the government tried to cover it up. It's on the screen right now. Click it, and I'll see you in the archive.